welcome to episode 6 of the You Look Happier podcast. My name is Ellie Forsyth. I am a life coach and a counsellor, and this podcast is all about sharing stories where people have been through something and they have learnt what they needed to do to feel and look happier. So today I am joined by Conor Martin. Hi, Conor.
Hi, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Good. Really well.
Well,
yeah.
First of all, I want to thank you genuinely for coming onto this podcast, and I'm so excited to speak to you and hear your story. For the listeners that may not know who you are and your journey so far, could you share a little bit just about who you are?
No problem. And obviously, yeah, you don't need to thank me. It's a pleasure to come on. Like seeing your growth over the last year and about it's been class. So
Thank
fair
you
play.
so much.
But in terms of me, I spent 10 years in active addiction, substance abuse, cocaine, little bit of drink, very confused and lost, lots of self-doubt, constant feeling of never feeling good enough. But using drugs took that away from me, made me feel at peace, made my head quiet. All got really bad. But I managed to check myself into rehab for 6 weeks. Came out the other side. That was in November 2021. Came out the other side of that. I'm now a fully qualified recovery coach, helping other people overcome addiction, mindset. Because for me, so much of addiction is about mindset.
Yeah.
And kind of breaking habits and actually having belief in yourself. So yeah, that's pretty much me at the minute. You know, me and my best friend started a business, go around educating others about. He kind of focused on gambling. I focus on just addictive behaviours in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been quite the turnaround.
Amazing. Thank you. And what a journey.
I know, yeah.
What an absolute journey that you've been on.
Mate. When I say things like that, it's just like, is that me?
Yeah.
Is that?
To actually look at where you were and where you are now.
Yeah.
So you mentioned substances. So you mentioned drugs, a little bit of drink. When did you start to realise that was a problem?
I feel like I knew early on, but it wasn't affecting me that much that I wanted to stop.
Right.
It was probably like mid-20s when I realised I was started to do it at midweek.
Right.
And I was calling in sick to jobs and I was making up ridiculous excuses to not come into work because I just hadn't slept. I knew it was an issue, but I didn't know what help there was out there. I didn't know who to speak to. Most importantly, I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want to admit that I had an issue. So,
okay, I think that's a really common thing as well. When it comes to drug use, it shouldn't be, but at times and in some places it is socially acceptable. It is around that age, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Everyone's doing it.
100%.
But you're sharing here that you then started to do it in the week.
Yeah.
Is that when you were starting to do it on your own?
Yeah, doing it in my bedroom.
Okay.
And just close the curtains, get a few bags, and have a party for one. Which, like at the time, I was having the time of my life.
Yeah.
Until the morning, obviously. Then I was in a world of hatred and depression. But looking back, that's just the madness of addiction. It takes you to a place of using by yourself, and you think that that's okay.
How long was it that you were using before you started to realise it was an issue? Like, how long was that journey from when, say, you first tried cocaine?
So I was probably, I think it was in like active addiction. Well, I say active addiction, I'll go from like when I first started to when I finished, probably like 10 years. So it would have been at probably the 5-year mark when I realised that all my friends were progressing and moving forward with life.
Right.
They had savings, they had cars and houses, but everything I had was going on drugs. I was still living at home. And again, comparing myself to other people led me to using more because it made me feel numb. I didn't care what they were doing because I was happy with my little bag in my bedroom. So yeah, it was about 5 years.
Okay. You've mentioned comparing yourself to others, and when we do that, in my opinion, and I want to know your stance on this, like that is such a slippery slope, comparing ourselves to others.
Yeah.
Like,
Why do we do it?
it doesn't make us feel great, does it? Because there
No.
will always be somebody on both sides of the scale. There will always be somebody that is worse off than us,
Yeah.
but there will always be somebody who is perceived to be doing better than us.
100%. Comparison is just, what is that saying? Comparison is the thief of joy or something.
Yeah.
And especially today's day and age where everything on Instagram, everyone's got the perfect bodies, the perfect cars, massive houses. You compare yourself to that, you're never going to be happy.
No.
You've got to break away from doing that. And I was doing that for years and years and years. And that, that's a big factor that led to me using more. But I try not to do it now. If I'm comparing myself to someone now, it is more so because I'm really active in the gym. It'll be, I'm in the best shape of my life, but I'm still not happy with it. There's still that thing, and like, why don't I look like him on Instagram? But I know it's all about, they've got the pump, they've got the lighting and whatnot. I just really try not to do it because it's just all it does is just take happiness away from that moment that you're in.
100%. I can completely agree with you on that one, because it's you've literally just said it. You are in the best shape that you have ever been in. I said it to you before this. You look great, and then it's almost as if that self-worth that you have, which has been improved so much, you've done so much work on yourself. It then basically has a choice, and it's getting knocked because your mind is then focusing on but see what they're doing there.
Yeah, it's silly. You never take time to look at your achievements, look at how far you've come, because you're always kind of thinking, I should be doing more, they're doing more. But when you can kind of, I wouldn't say master, but when you can kind of get comfortable with being really happy with where you are and what you've achieved, it's almost like a weight's lifted.
Yeah. And that is, by the sounds of things, something which you have found through your journey.
Yeah, I've had to.
If we stay on the substances, I say substances because it's just what I'm always from old jobs been used to saying. If we stay on the drugs and the drink, was drink there for you, or
drink was what led me to it? Yeah,
right,
but
okay.
Like the last 4 years, I would never drink on my own in my bedroom. I always found that's a step too far, drinking by yourself.
Right.
But sniff by yourself, that's fine.
So just on that, so you'd go out with friends. You'd then, as you say, carry the party on your own. Yeah. But you'd be, they call it dry sniffing. Is that what you were doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
All the time, dry sniffing,
So no alcohol involved?
No, not during the week. Only when I was out with friends would there be alcohol involved.
Right, okay, I hear you.
Because living at home with my mum, they can smell alcohol. Oh. They know if you're drunk or whatever, but they can't smell cocaine on me, so...
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
There's theory to the madness.
Yeah. How were you during that time? You've mentioned you were sort of escaping. There was a bit of escapism in your head.
Yeah.
Did you know who you were at that time?
No, I didn't know who I was. I think I had ideas of who I was. And it wasn't who I wanted to be, which is why I was trying to escape. A lot of it was, again, not being where I wanted to be in life. So using drugs would escape from that situation. Like, that would just push my problems away. I don't have to deal with that right now because I'm high. And then there was the big one of actually coming to terms with being bisexual. And that the cocaine just stopped me from wanting to do any of that or act on any of them thoughts.
Okay.
And that was my go-to then, because I didn't want to be bisexual. Yeah. I hated it. I hated the thought of it. But I was just so confused at that time. So I used drugs to quieten down them thoughts and feelings, and oddly led to my peril, shall we say?
Yeah. And cocaine will block it out for only a short amount of time. Do you know what I mean? Like you've already said, the next morning or the day after, not only sort of how you were feeling was coming back. You've got the come down of what you'd been using, but what you were trying to escape, like you mentioned in your sexuality here, that doesn't go away, does it?
No, it didn't. And then towards the end of it, I found that the drugs kind of accelerated it. It made me not care.
Okay.
Like, I'll go out and do it, but you can just say you're doing this because you're on drugs.
Because you're high.
I'd wake up in the morning and be like, oh, that wasn't me. I was just on drugs. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
So it kind of did like a whole 180 and it backfired. But, you know, these things happen.
Yeah. And you were, by the sounds of things, you're trying to navigate your way through your life, battling with, understanding who you really are, potentially kind of by the sounds of things, knowing who you are deep down, but you're saying here, you know, you hated that. You didn't want to be bisexual. Is that correct at that time?
Yeah, 100%. I don't know how, but, you know, I knew that what I was attracted to. And, you know, it was some lads, and I despised that. I didn't want them feelings. I'm in a very, you know, I'm from a rugby background.
Yeah.
Very heterosexual friend group.
Yeah.
And I was just so worried about what they would think of me, how they would see me, would they act differently around me? So I just wanted to bury that as deep as possible and just not deal with it and hope that it was just a phase. But yeah, it won't.
It wasn't going away.
No.
So when did you start to realise that you were attracted to both guys and girls? So how old were you?
I want to say like 27, 28. So,
see, that's quite late.
Yeah, I know.
Isn't it?
Yeah. I had my first girlfriend before that for like 3-4 years. It was never on the cards then. Yeah, I couldn't even tell you how it happened.
And then you're then thinking, like, what were you? Were you shocked? Were you thinking, oh, okay, where's this come from?
Yeah, I'm really shocked. I was like, what's happened? Trying to figure out why I'd done that. But I just didn't have the answers. Because I guess looking back now, it's just me. You can't change that. But at the time, I wanted to change that. I did not want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Which is like, I look back now where I am is massively sad, but at the same time, that Conor was so confused and scared, and the fear of judgment, the fear of what other people are going to think of him, which none of it has been true, well, to my knowledge anyway.
That part's really interesting. So you're sharing here, you started to recognise that some of your desires, things in which you were interested, started to change.
Yeah.
Then you're battling with, oh my God, this is not who I am.
Yeah.
What will people think of me? The friendship group that you were in, the sort of background, the heterosexual lads of your friendship group.
Yeah.
That fear of, well, will they accept me? Will they judge me for this? Now, with that, what were you doing then? Were you just trying to avoid it so that no one knew?
Yeah, just avoid it. Just avoid it like the plague. Like, but I was always like secretly on like gay dating apps. Like when I was out with the lads, and it was just like, I don't know. It was just so weird. But no one knew anyway. That I'm aware of. No one knew. No one ever spoke to me when I, you know, did what I did. Came out, or whatever you want to call it. Come out of the closet. No pun intended. But yeah, I had nothing but support, and some of the people who I was worried about, knowing, messaged me like, I'm so sorry you're feeling that way. You didn't feel like you could come to us and speak. I've got nothing but respect for you.
Wow.
So yeah, it was nice, and it's just all in your head.
Because we build up that perception of, okay, well, this is who I am. This is who people think I am. That persona of who you have to feel like you have to live up to.
Yeah.
You are right. A lot of it is usually in our heads. I was exactly the same. So that the aspect of, well, okay, well, I'm noticing that I'm a little bit different, but are people still going to be my friend because of this? Are people going to judge me for this?
Yeah. I didn't want people to act differently around me.
Right.
I wanted them to still see me as me, because I had this perception and I don't mean to cause any offence to anyone, but because I like lads now, that I had to be more feminine, I had to be camp,
Right.
and that was just all built up in my head. But then I come to terms, did lots of work in rehab, of all the places, coming to terms with it, and I realised that I was just still exactly the same person, but I like lads and girls, and I just didn't want anyone to change the way they viewed me or the way they behaved around me. I didn't want people to be uncomfortable around me, and that just hasn't happened. So that's good.
I'm so pleased that was and absolutely that should be the right way
Yeah,
that you were received by your friends, but they were supportive of you, upset by the sounds of things that you didn't come to them sooner.
Yeah.
How are they with you now? And then we'll go back to sort of like your journey.
It's just not a thing now.
Yeah?
It's just not a thing at all. No, it's just exactly the same as it was before, but better, because I'm in a such clearer and happier headspace. It's not a thing. The lads have, they'll throw jokes around, but that's what I wanted. I didn't want to lose that banter with the lads, so it's good.
That is a really key thing there, I think, because I was interested to know, with your friendship group, is it talked about? Is it, is it accepted to the point where there are jokes? Because it is. I know your friendship group. It is it's a jokey group of lads.
Yeah, very
so
boisterous.
they are. Yeah, very. So they are doing that. They are joking. How are you with that?
I'm fine with it now because it is who I am. It doesn't cause me any offence. It just doesn't bother me, and I'm really, because the people that I've got around me now, I don't have a big friendship group. When I stopped drinking, that kind of drinking and drugging, that kind of just dissolved. I've probably got a handful of friends, but at the minute I kind of like that, because I know that I can trust each and every one of them, and I can go to them with anything, and they're gonna either have the time to talk to me, or they're gonna be able to keep what I say to themselves, and unless I advise otherwise, and I don't have that worry about, I wonder what they're thinking, because I know they're my best mate.
They're your mates, yeah.
I don't have to worry about other people anymore.
I love that. Okay, so just to clarify, you were going through issues with drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Then you were battling with your own sort of just self-identity.
Yeah.
What was the timeline? So was that happening at the same time? I know you've mentioned your age.
Yeah,
but...
happening at the same time, yeah. Yeah, so I probably think I started drugs at like 20. In a relationship with a girl who was class, was amazing, and she deserved so much better. But I just wasn't able to do it because I was always skint. I was always getting drugs, and then we broke up. She moved away. Getting to about 27 is when I started to realise I had feelings towards lads.
Yeah.
They started to find them attractive, which was just like completely out of the blue to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where we're at. 27 is when it all came into play. So yeah, it was a concoction of a lot of mental work to someone who did not know how to deal with it, to someone who didn't have the tools to be able to combat it or want to accept it, have the confidence or courage to speak about it. So it was so much to deal with by myself, so much.
You've just listed it all. The ability of actually thinking, okay, something needs to change here, but then the confusion of going, well, what do I even do? Like, where do I start? Yeah. So when did rehab come in?
November 2021.
Okay, so you were... Oh, God, sorry, I've put you on the spot.
I don't know, what was it? When was 2021? Like 4 years ago?
Yeah. How old are you now?
33.
Okay.
34 in July. I know I look 28, but...
21.
Yeah, that came around in November 2021. It was kind of after the whole lockdown COVID thing, but my usage during that time went through the roof.
Right, okay.
Yeah, because, nothing to do, being off work all the time, knowing that I wasn't going to see anyone. So they literally, like my friends and that, so they couldn't physically no one was going to pull me up and looking bad, looking ill or anything like that. I could just be by myself in my room all day, every day, and it was just accepted. But rehab came about because I tried to take my own life because it got too bad. I didn't know how to deal with it. I thought that I was nothing but a burden on my mum, on my friends. Didn't really feel like I'd achieved anything in life. And I just thought that, the best way to deal with this was just to not exist. Luckily, that didn't plan out the way I wanted it to at the time. And I'm very grateful that I didn't. Very, very grateful. And then that was in October. And then, November the 2nd, I was in rehab.
So quite soon after then?
Yeah, October 14th was when I tried. And then November the 2nd.
Were friends and family aware that you'd had a suicide attempt?
My mum found me.
Okay.
So my mum come in the morning and see me, and then called the ambulance, which is, that's one of the hard things I've had to come to, because no mother should have to walk in on that. It wasn't bloody or gore or anything, but I brought a considerable amount of cocaine and ate it, and then washed that down with some tramadol and some vodka, in the hopes that I would have a heart attack. But yeah, no, I just woke up the next morning. My mum was standing over me, and it was a bit of a mess. She just phoned the ambulance. Went to hospital. Was released after a night with a handful of diazepam, funnily enough.
Oh my God.
I know, but I just don't think they were equipped for it.
Well, that's what did they do? Like when you went into the hospital, were you released with any support, Conor?
They asked me if I was going to kill myself again or attempt. I obviously didn't word it like that. I can't remember the wording, but they asked me, and I was just like, no, I'm fine. They kept me on a heart monitor for like 24 hours. Or I can't remember the time period, but once it was okay, they were like, yeah, you can go home. Here's some diazepam because kind of
Bring you
wean
back down again.
off, yeah.
When they asked you, do you have any plans to try this again? And you said no. Did you mean that?
Yeah, I did that time, because I think that was just a cry for help, because I was, I was stealing off my mum, family members to feed my addiction. And I just looked in the mirror. I just couldn't come to terms with who I was, where I'd gotten, how did I get here? I was 12 stone, skinniest I've ever been. I didn't know how to stop. I didn't think we could afford rehab. I knew that waiting for rehab would be 6 months or so, and I just thought, I don't have that time to wait. I'm not going to be able to stop, so I just did what I did. But after that, I didn't have any intentions, because I seen the damage it did to my mum. So
okay. So then, with the rehab, was it yourself? Did you find the rehab? Did someone suggest? Did you get taken there?
My mum found it. She was phoning up loads of rehabs the morning after I got out of hospital. And loads of them were just like, would he like an ensuite? Would he like a TV? And Mum was like, he wants to get better. He wants to learn how to not use drugs. And we found this really good one in Southam called Ash. Hands down best thing I've ever done. It was amazing place. And that is, it's an addiction centre run by addicts. So that's probably why they get it. They understand it so much. They've been there. They've come through it. A lot of the people who work there were ex-residents as well. So fantastic place.
Amazing. And I take it you were happy to go there, because you've just shared, if I wanted to go to rehab, it's going to take me 6 months to get in. So you were willing to go. You weren't sort of forced, or?
No, I really saw it as, because I knew the financial strain it put on people as well to get me there. Not only that, but I knew that where I'd been, I just was not happy, but I didn't know how to change. I didn't think change was possible. I didn't have any hope. And then I was given this opportunity, and I was like, that's it now. I've got to take this.
How long were you there for? What was it like?
6 weeks. 6 weeks, you hand your phone over when you get there. You know, it was good. You put on rota to do like chores, I'll call it. It wasn't what I thought it was. I thought it was going to be getting white jackets, giving out medicines. Just wasn't the case. It was just loads of normal people surrounded by, you know, addicts who are in recovery. They're working there. Who, when I first got in, they were not really happy, the workers, and I was like, "There's no way he used to be a drug user. Like, how can he be that happy in his life without using drugs?"
Because you didn't think it was possible.
Yeah, I thought it's a load of crap.
Yeah.
Can't be happy. He can't be that happy not taking drugs.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. You learn, like, you know, you go through childhood traumas, you go through why you've led to where you are. You have to do a story about yourself. It was really, really helpful stuff, and how to kind of cope and manage. And that was probably the first time I'd openly said I use because I'm hiding the feelings of being bisexual. And I just broke down, and I thought everyone in the room was going to judge me. But my best mate, one of my best mates, Gaz, just stood up and hugged me, and that was like the first like ever bit of acceptance I had. Other than when I told my mum knew, and she was just like, yeah, she was just like, I don't care, do what you want. I just want you to be happy. In regards to relationship wise, not do what you want, drugs.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my first ever experience of kind of being accepted for me. Yeah, it was powerful.
And I'm so glad that you got that reception and you had that experience of rehab. Do you know what I mean? Like, even when, and you are right, a lot of people might think going to rehab is everybody sitting in a circle.
Yeah.
But like, what's that film? Is it One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah, it's like an old 70s, 80s film in like a hospital.
Yeah.
But I've been to rehabs myself, and I've seen the amazing work which is done. Was that your first experience of like talking therapy kind when you were there?
Oh no, I tried it years before, like therapy, but I didn't care. I didn't want to do it. So
Okay.
I was felt like I was doing it to tick boxes.
Yeah.
But I didn't. Again, it's all about acceptance, and just I hadn't accepted what was going on, so I didn't care about it. I didn't put anything into it. So this was the first time that I had therapy that I wanted to do.
Amazing. You then felt strong enough in that room to share with other people your sort of sexuality.
Yeah.
And you were met with a really positive response.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned Gaz. Was Gaz your friend before rehab? Did you meet
No,
him there?
no. Gaz, I met Gaz in there. I met Gaz in there. He was a wicked. You know, hope he's doing well. Yeah, I started crying because I just thought like, because it was powerful because it's the first time I've ever said it in front of other people other than my mum.
Yeah.
And one of my friends knew, and his partner, two of my friends, I shouldn't say his partner because she's my friend as well, Stubbs and Lee, you know Stubbs.
Yeah.
And it was just, I just felt like this, just overwhelmed with emotion. I was just like, I can't believe I've just said that in front of people. I said I wasn't going to do this today. Yeah, and he just hugged me, and I just felt that sense of worry just completely go.
Because you'd been suppressing that for so long.
Yeah.
Either consciously or subconsciously, essentially, it may have been, you know, that feeling of, I'm battling with this, I'm trying to avoid it, I'm trying to ignore it, I'm trying to pretend and bat it off, I was just on coke, sorry, that's not me.
Yeah.
But then you, by the sounds of things, had a real identity battle between yourself, who you were around your friends and who you wanted to be. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the view that I'm getting here. And then battling with who you were. Yeah. And that fear of thinking, well, they can't combine.
No, they couldn't. It's like they couldn't coexist. Them two different people. And I was so worried about people finding out, but you know, like it's all out there now. I'm so glad it is.
Me too.
I'm so glad it is.
Yeah.
Because my life has like never been so good. I'm so happy and so grateful to be in the position that I'm in right now.
And those two worlds, they have combined.
Yeah, I guess they have, but I mean, like, in terms of, I'm very much not the same person. I guess the worlds have combined, but the people who I am weren't. It's almost like that kind of has been left behind. Or I don't like to say left behind, because I think he just learned and accepted who he was and learned how to deal with it, and just wanted to be himself. He just wanted to be happy.
Mm-hmm. How has everything changed then? So after you spoke about it in rehab, after you then started speaking to friends, feeling accepted by your friends, how did things start to change?
I guess I fully accepted it myself. Stopped caring as much. I can't stress how important that is, the self acceptance part. And I know it takes a long time to get there. But the sooner you can get there, and the sooner that you can realise that all the potential outcomes or scenarios that you think are going to happen just don't happen at all. Like, just get there. Do what you can to get there, where you need to be to accept it. Things changed. You know, I was happier, a lot happier. I was able to. I just wasn't hiding anymore, and it's such a relief to like be able to have conversations with my mates that I never thought I'd be able, like conversations I never thought I'd be able to have, or like just little stupid things. Like I never thought, and like I'll be sat with people and I'd be like, oh, he's hot, but like having a laugh because and like deep down I thought they'd find it uncomfortable.
Yeah,
and I'd just be like, oh, shut up.
That is your humour with your friendship group, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. I haven't changed in that sense. It's just my preferences.
I love that, because you were finally, you had allowed yourself, by the sounds of things, to finally accept you for who you were.
Yeah.
And things seemed to be feeling brighter for you.
So much brighter.
You know?
Yeah.
So then what? Like work-wise, mental health, so no drugs were involved now?
Yeah, no drugs are involved. My probably only concerning thing was the amount of trainers I was buying.
Right.
But that's the thing with addiction. It kind of learns to seep out in other ways. If something's going on, you'll turn to food, you'll turn to spending money to make yourself feel better.
Yeah.
So it was always continual work, always making sure I was doing the next right thing, but always wanting to work on myself to make sure that now the drugs is not an issue, drink is not an issue anymore. But the behaviours are obviously still inside me, so it's like, where are they going to come out from in what area of my life? But lots of physical exercise, going to the gym, training to be a recovery coach at this time. I haven't been to the first year. I didn't go on like stag do's or weddings or anything like that, because I just didn't want to put myself in that environment.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that probably everyone's like, "Oh, just come," but I just didn't want to risk it. I worked so hard to be where I am, and I just accepted what boundaries I've got.
Yeah.
You know, I can go to the pub now with the lads, and you know, you get to about 3 pints in, and it's like, all right, now's my time to go, because I realise I'm not enjoying it anymore. Everyone's getting really loud. Everyone's talking loads of crap.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're sober, it's just like, I struggle to relate, but yeah, things are so different.
It is tricky, isn't it? Being sober and trying to still have that social aspect of things and navigating your balance of there. So do you avoid everything completely? All of the things in which you used to do, social events, going out, pub with the lads, or do you do it until you're ready to go, right, I've had enough now?
Depends on the event. If I know what like the social occasion is, I normally know what the crack is.
Right.
Like, no pun intended with the word crack. I'll know kind of what the situation is and what's going to be going on there. But a lot of my friends growing out of it, like they grew out of that stuff. They just have social drinks. But yeah, I guess I just do what I like to do now, and being sat in a pub and like watching everyone get louder, and it's crazy to sit there and watch how much people change.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, ugh. But if I could have a few drinks, I would. But I know that I can't do that, so I just don't do it. I balance it. I see people for walks, see people go to the gym, go for food. It's just what I do, But I know that probably I need to put myself out there more. But future events coming up will probably allow me to do that. So I'm looking forward to it.
And you're learning along the way. So this is still a relatively early journey for you.
Yeah.
So you will navigate your way through, be it the end of this year, a few years' time, you may be dealing with things completely different to how you're dealing with them now. And that's okay.
100%.
I completely agree with you with what you're saying. Like, if you're sober around people that maybe aren't sober, I used to be out every single weekend. I'm not completely sober, but my hangovers last for 4 days, Conor. I can't. I can't. I'm really, really sad if I've had a drink. So this year I haven't had a drink.
Fair play.
But I just feel so much better for it. But I'm exactly the same. Like, you will go and people get louder and louder. And you will know that used to be me. I was always the loudest one. Do you know what I mean?
The loudest. Politely, respectfully, the loudest.
So now I'm like, God, was that me? If not worse.
Yeah.
So, and then I just leave. I just think, I've had enough now. I'm in bed by flipping 8:30 every night.
Oh, yeah.
I prefer to go to breakfast, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
mate, I love breakfast.
We're like
brunch,
two old
yeah.
people. So tell me about this recovery coaching then. What is it? How did you get into it?
I got into it because I realised that, hard to say without, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I reached out to a lot of people in regards to getting recovery coaching, and I didn't feel like that I could relate to any of them.
Right.
A lot of them were from an older demographic, which is absolutely fine. Like, they know what they're doing, and it's recovery. So, but I wanted someone that I could relate to, someone who was, in shape, someone who was active. Not saying that I'm in shape, that sounds so big headed, but just someone that I could relate to, someone who was younger. And I struggled to find that. Whether I was looking in the wrong places, I don't know. I'm not saying that everyone is not that way, but I just couldn't find it. Then I stumbled across this course. Took me about 1.5 years to complete. With loads of different assignments in regards to spirituality, ethics, mindset, which was just all fascinating stuff. And I met some really amazing people, and which probably at that time, meeting other people on the course, made me think how stupid I was to think that I couldn't find. I need someone younger to work with, because some of the people I met on the course that were older than me, were just, the knowledge they had was just fantastic. So that was like my point where I was like, right then, no more judgment on people, because I've learned so much from this person.
Yeah.
Qualified in that, set up a business. Aaron set up a business, my good friend, you obviously know, Abo.
Yeah.
And I called him saying, look, I'm going into rehab. We had a period of like, we didn't really speak for like a year or two, like, because we were both dealing with our separate things. And I called him when I was out of rehab, told him I was training to be a coach, and he was like, I want you to set up the recovery side of things for Against the Odds. So I did that. It's going well. Just mental to like think about that's me and him now doing that. Granted, a lot of it is, a lot of it's on his side. The recovery stuff is still early days. But yeah, it's been a good journey, and I love it. I love being able to help other people. I love being able to give back. I remember how kind of lonely and hopeless I was. And just the feeling or the thoughts that there's other people out there feeling that way.
Yeah.
It's devastating. And I really want to get rid of the stigma. I think a lot of people who don't know anything about recovery, think someone's in recovery, thinks that, they're boring people. They can't have a laugh. They don't do anything. But, or, they think that people who are addicts are like, you know, scumbags, lower the low, but
Yeah.
addiction doesn't care who you are. It'll get you if it wants to. So yeah, that's where the recovery coaching came from.
So against the odds is gambling.
Yeah,
Is it?
gambling and addiction awareness.
Okay, so it literally goes hand in hand.
Yeah, so Aaron goes out and does the gambling awareness side of things, but with, you know, we've got pro athletes who are young, between 16 to 21, who they come to me with mindset, because addiction and mindset is very, very similar, and I've had to work a lot on my mindset, and that was one of the modules in my coaching. I'll do any addiction really, from like drugs, alcohol, but I would like to say that they're the main two. I don't have experience with others, but if people want me to like assess their behaviours and see if we can work around their behaviours and habits, more than happy to do that. But you know, I like to stay in my lane. I know that if they're coming to me with an issue, I'll direct them to the right place. But the big one at the minute is mindset and the kind of self-belief. I get a lot of people come to us want to turn around that mindset.
So with mindset and with self-belief, how is it that goes hand in hand with some of the behaviours? Like how, if somebody changed their mindset, how could it help them? Because
if you've got a bad mindset, normally 9 times out of 10, it all comes down to your core beliefs, I would say, and you've got to assess where that's coming from, assess why it's there, why it's hurt you. Probably, you know, go back to that event, try to speak to you at that time, give yourself a different outlook on it, try to explain why it was that way, start to change their behaviours so they have a bit of hope. And then it's once that person's got that bit of hope, that's when you really start to do the work, because they start to believe. And at the start, they're not believing, they're just thinking, oh, maybe I've been to different services before, it hasn't worked out for me. But once you get that bit of belief, once you get them to open up, get that bit of emotion, you know, and they find me relatable, anything is possible. So much of it is mindset. Like if you're in a good headspace, if you believe you can do it, it's like anything is possible.
You sound like, when you're sharing that with me, when you were saying it, I was thinking of you sat when you first got to that rehab, thinking, look at them all happy. Like, there's no way that they would be happy without drugs. Like, you had a different mindset to what you have now, and look at what you've achieved now with a positive mindset.
Yeah, definitely.
You're now them, in my opinion. Now, you're going to be really humble here and go, oh, no, maybe not. But to me, from the journey that you've explained to me today of what you've been on, I'd find it like I could argue with you against that. I really could, because you have turned yourself from battling with your own inner demons, fear of not being good enough. You've mentioned these right at the beginning here. You've then navigated your way through pain. You turned to drug and alcohol to be able to block it out and cope. You then recognise it wasn't helping. You've then done something about it with support from loved ones, but you accepted to go.
Yeah.
You know, you did that. You put in the work while you were there, because some individuals will go to rehab. I've worked with them myself, and they'll leave, or they'll say, no, I can't do this. You didn't do that. You know, you worked through it, and now you have put yourself through education to be able to help other people. That's pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, it's a side I struggle with, is giving myself credit, I guess. But yeah, it is amazing. I guess it's because I don't feel like I'm done yet, which I don't think that feeling will ever go away. I do need to get better at taking compliments, realising where I've come from to where I am. That is definitely something that I need to work on. But no, I'm very thankful for what you just said, so thank you a lot. But going back to the rehab thing, I was in there with people, and they were there for 6 weeks, and 2 hours of them being out, they were back on it. And it's just like mental. Some people they just don't. But I could see from the classroom environment that we were in that they just weren't gonna work for them because they thought they knew differently. They thought they knew better. It just didn't work at all.
Mm-hmm. You have to be ready.
Yeah, you've got to be ready for everything.
Yeah.
Like, ready to come to terms with who I am. And he said who I was. I was all hiding it again. Who I am, what my boundaries are, the things I can and can't do. And once you get to that place, it's just like, oh, thank God I'm here. Like, I can't believe it's took me so long to get here, and I've had to go through so much. But everything happens for a reason. Like, I fully believe that now.
I absolutely agree with you. You've gone through a hell of a lot. You've put yourself through a lot of pain, trying to battle your way through the mindset, the core beliefs that you had about yourself, your identity, your sexuality, all of these kind of things were bundled into one thing.
Yeah.
You were trying to find a way to cope with it. And then you've recognised, right, okay, well, I'm going to have to take the more painful route then. But look at the progress in which you've made on the back of it. Now, that taking compliments, being able to celebrate your achievements, I agree, it is really difficult. But if we are always thinking, well, I'm not quite there yet, you might lose sight of where you are at the minute. Like, if you think of that Conor where the party's ended, all of your mates have, I don't know, they've gone to sleep, you're carrying it on your own, what would he say to you now?
What would he say to me?
Yeah.
Probably ask for help. How did you get there? If I could go back and like look forward and be like, this is where I'm going to be, I'd say no chance. When I was in rehab, I was like, there's no chance I'm leaving here and staying 2 days clean. And it's like coming up to like 3.5 years.
Unbelievable.
And it's just, it's powerful stuff when you go back and you think, what would that guy say to Conor now?
Yeah.
Really powerful. I do that with a lot of my clients, and a lot of the time the tears start flowing. Mm-hmm. Tears, when it happened to me with therapy, I broke down doing that part because I was just like, he was just so lost and confused, didn't know what to do, just so hopeless. And it's just, had to go through everything that I've been through to be able to be, I guess, where I am today, to be able to understand everything, to be happy ultimately. Yeah. So.
And people will relate to that so much. Like, even with the recovery coaching that you're doing, you've done it, you've been through it, you will be so relatable to people that may have been like, right, okay, well, I need someone to help me, but they may have that perception of, well, that person ain't going to know. They're not going to get what I'm talking about. They're not going to relate to me.
Yeah.
You are now that person for somebody else. I was exactly the same when I was looking for therapists. I thought, I don't want an old lady in a fluffy cardigan that I'm going to talk to. It put me off for years.
Yeah.
So continue to be yourself, because you are and will be so relatable.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I love what you've said about what you do with your clients. Encourage them to look backwards, because we get lost in looking forward. Okay, that's my next goal. But sometimes something really motivational is to go, right, well, where was I a month ago? What have I learned about myself since then? Because then you go, oh, yeah, I've done that. And then you're more motivated to carry on.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question then. Although I think we've probably answered most of it. But if somebody was listening to this, really struggling with who they are, unsure of what to do, what advice would you give them if they were really in the mindset that they thought nothing would help?
If they're in the mindset they thought nothing would help, the best thing to do, and the thing that I wish I did was talk to someone. Mm-hmm. Find someone that you can trust, whether it be a friend, a family member, and talk to them. Find out kind of what support's available, how accessible the support is. If there's someone, there might be someone as silly as that, that you relate to on Instagram or something like that. Just drop someone a message. Yeah. If anyone relates to me, please feel free to drop me a message.
Yeah.
I think you just have to talk. You have to talk, because if you don't talk, it's all staying in there, and in there can be a very dangerous place when things start to build up. Reach out, get help. understand that what you're feeling right now is just a moment in time, and it will pass. And all the outcomes and scenarios, I said it before, all the outcomes and scenarios that you think are probably going to happen, they never happen. We spend so much time worrying about, probably 80% of the time, worrying about things that could happen that don't happen. And if you can just, accept where you are, or know that things are going to be okay, the quicker you can do it, the better. It's a really difficult and tricky situation depending on what you're experiencing and feeling. But the quicker that you can get acceptance or speak to someone that you trust, the quicker it's going to be to feeling like yourself and being happy. And I know how scary that first step is. It's so
'Cause you've done
scary.
it.
Yeah, it's so scary. But, I wish I'd done it sooner. But I guess everything's on its own timeline. Do it when you feel ready. But if you see that your health is starting to deplete or it's becoming too much for you mentally, you have to reach out and talk to someone. And especially if you get to the situation I was in where you tried to take your own life, that is never, ever the answer.
Yeah.
Never the answer. So just reach out and get help.
Thank you so much. Good advice. So with all of that being said, Conor, we are at the end of our podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Thank you for coming on. How have you found that? Like sharing everything? I know that you've already been on one podcast as a guest with our Taylor.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's still like, when you message me, can you come on a podcast? I'm like, why the fuck do you want me on your podcast? That's where my head takes me, and I have to pull myself around like, oh yeah, you've been through some stuff, so
Yeah, you've got a good story to tell and you've overcome it.
yeah. So no, it's good. I'm gonna say I love talking about myself. That sounds so egotistical, but if this can help anyone, then I'm always happy to do it. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. Your questions are really good. It's a really comfortable environment. So, and your growth and the things you're doing are wicked as well. So
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on.
You are welcome. And I can't wait to just see your journey. Just keep going, is what I would say to you.
Vice versa.